So I've been doing a lot of work on the Cafe Racer this last couple of weeks, and today's priority is getting the carburetors installed and the bike running, and that way I can take it for a test drive and check out the handling of the new front end and the brakes and everything. The bike only came with this one carburetor, and I did get another one that's the same size, so today's work is to get these modified and installed back on the bike and get everything running. So this is our stock carburetor. What I did is I looked up how to identify these, and this is a 32 millimeter carburetor. This is the intake side going this way, and this is the side that goes to the engine, and then this is what mounts to the back of the motor. Now you measure it on this side where it goes into the engine, and this is a 32 millimeter carb. So when I was looking online for other 32 millimeter carbs, so I have a good set, I found this 32 millimeter carb. Now this one's a little bit different. It's 32 millimeters, so all that's the same. But on the sides where they mount, this one has this flange, and this one doesn't have one. It came in another part, like this. And it was supposed to be a 2-carb setup, but there's only one. So either what I have to do is either cut this off and mount it onto this carburetor with these screw holes, or I'll cut it off this way and just glue it on, because when you look at them, there's not going to be a lot of room side by side. But anyway, when I get the proper flange on the replacement carburetor, then it's going to match up to the same diameter as the mounting flange on the original carburetor I had with my bike. Okay, so that's confusing, but it makes sense to me, and let's get started. Okay, so when I had the hacksaw out, I went ahead and I did it both ways. I cut the flange off and left the screw holes in so it can be mounted like that, and then I also cut the flange off the bracket flush, and that way it can be glued on like that. So ideally what we want to do is have this go on and then put the screws in, and then that way it's much easier for me anyway just to use the screwdriver and screw it in versus trying to glue that other piece. But I'll show you what the problem is here. Now with that screwed on with this extra space of this bracket, this carburetor actually sets back away farther, if you understand what I mean. So if we take and we glue this round flange on the new carburetor, it'll sit a little closer, and I think that's going to be probably the right way to do it. It won't be as easy, but I'll get that done next. Okay, I've got the carb all modified. What I had to do is take that flange that I cut off of that bracket, and I used this JB weld, and I welded it onto the carb body. Then that had to set for quite a while to cure. It's like an epoxy, so it doesn't take that long. And then I was concerned about it leaking around the edges, so I just used some regular silicone and I sealed that up. So now it's secured, and it's sealed, and it's ready for installation. So now if you compare it to the original carburetor, they both have the same matching flange, and they'll be able to mount on there just fine. So now what I have to do is, I mean, obviously we need to control the airflow going in. So when the air goes in, I either need to come up with a filter or something like that to make sure that the air is clean, and I'll start working on that next. So I was doing some research on air filters, and I found that air filter pods aren't necessarily the right thing to do, so I'm going to go with velocity stacks. Now what I did is I took some aluminum and I made a stack in a cone shape and mounted it on this carburetor, but I just haven't figured out how to glue this, or you know, in any way that'll mount on there securely and stay in a cone shape. So I'm going to get rid of that, which won't work. I haven't figured it out. But I did find these little containers, and they're shaped exactly like little velocity stacks, which is really cool. So then I took and I cut the end out of one of them, and it actually fits right on there just perfect. So we got a velocity stack, it's the right size, I don't have to worry about gluing it together or anything, and then all I have to do is zip tie it on. So got these zip ties, and I'll just hook it on like that, and it's got these slots that are in the plastic, and just secure that on like that, and then I'll have a perfect set of velocity stacks. I think I'll paint these chrome, and I used green zip ties. The colored zip ties are much stronger than the black, and I'll just need to make up another one for the other carb, and then I think I'll be ready to install them and get this machine running. So I've got the carburetor velocity stacks all modified, and I painted them silver actually, so they look more like aluminum. And while those are drying, I was doing some general cleaning of these carburetors, and I found that the fuel jets are different sizes. One actually has a larger jet than the other, although the carbs are the same size, and we want the carbs to be balanced correctly. So what I did is I took those jets out, and this one's much smaller than this one, so I need to drill this one out to match. In fact, I'm going to drill them both out a little larger than the larger one, because the velocity stacks will let more airflow in than the stock air filter did. So to do that, first we need to secure the jet like that, and then I've got the right drill size, and then we just need to drill this jet out. And as you can see, it's a larger hole now. Then we'll drill this one out to match this one, and then we'll have a nice balanced set and be ready to put back in the carburetors. Okay, I've got the carburetors both installed. I've got our new Café Racer velocity stacks on, zip tied, secured, carbs are clamped on. The only thing I need before I can actually start it is the thingy that goes on the bottom of this carburetor that's missing, that holds the gas in. Then I can hook up the fuel lines in the fuel tank and fire it up. And while I wait for that part to come in, I think I'll start working on some other modifications. So we'll see you next time.